football and we have takes. Welcome to Football Takes. Football! Yeah! Football!
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Score North's CFP Semifinals Betting Extravaganza. I'm your host, Thor Nystrom, joined, as always, by my co-host, Eric Froton of NBC Sports and Mike Bainbridge of the CFF site. Over the next hour, we are going to be previewing in depth, as great a depth as you're going to see out there, the games of Miami and Ole Miss tonight, and then tomorrow night, Oregon and Indiana. Boys, you ready to do this? You ready to hop into these games?
Oh, yeah. CFP semifinal. This is what we've been waiting for, boys.
Been waiting all season for this. And in this show, I'm going to give you my adjusted spreads. I'm going to give you my side picks. And then, of course, the gentlemen will give you their world-class prop picks as well. So open up those apps now, and we will hop right in if you guys are ready. We have nothing. We don't have any time to waste. So this evening, the Fiesta Bowl, Glendale, Arizona. This is going to be a 7:30 Eastern kick on ESPN. The number 10 seed, Miami Hurricanes, I don't know who expected this, playing the number 6 seed Ole Miss. No one expected that. Spread on this game, toggling between 3 and 3.5 right now. There's been some money coming in here on Ole Miss as we move closer to kickoff. Total of 53.5. My adjusted line agrees with the market here late in the week. I actually have Ole Miss as the extremely small favorite. Last game for these two teams, Miami, of course, beat Ohio State 24-14. Ole Miss upset Georgia 39-34, overcame a 21-12 deficit at halftime in that one to avenge their only loss to this point. Ole Miss in that game, 473 yards of offense against Georgia's extremely stout defense. And I'm curious what the gentlemen are going to think of the matchup here of Ole Miss's offense going up against another really stout defense here. 362 yards for Trinidad Chambliss in that one. 98 yards and a pair of touchdowns for Kewan Lacey, their running back. As for Miami, of course, they jumped out to that 14-0 lead and then became the only team to score more than 16 on Ohio State this year. Notes for this game, you have the whole thing with the Ole Miss coaching staff. Are they rallying around Lane Kiffin here? It sort of appears to be that case. And one note on the stadium, the Fiesta Bowl has a fast track that has favored offenses in the past, so that's something potentially to keep an eye on here as well. Injuries on both sides. On the Ole Miss side, the only one of note, a starting edge, Cam Franklin, was listed as questionable. And then on Miami's side, they had two. Damari Brown, valued rotational boundary cornerback, is questionable. And then Ahmad Moten, senior interior defensive lineman. Miami rotates 4 interior defensive linemen, basically even Steven, and Moten might be the best of the 4 of them. They do have 3 others that play plenty, so we'll end up seeing if those guys end up giving it a go. Froton, I'll kick it to you first. General thoughts on the game, your handicap, and then where that led you in the prop market.
Well, yeah, first off, let's start off with Ahmad Moten, number 99 there for Mississippi. Is he questionable or is he out? What is the status on him?
Moten was listed as questionable by Miami on that depth.
That's a problem. I watched that entire last game, and Moten was virtually unblockable, frankly, in the first 3 quarters. You saw them there in the final quarter where he wasn't out there. They had to rotate, obviously, a couple of guys in. In fact, they had one of their edge defenders towards the end when they were running a 3-man and dropping 8 in the coverage. They just popped one of the edge defenders in the middle and had him going after it with Mesidor and Bain on the outside. Missing Moten is not to be taken lightly. In terms of NFL draft prep, I don't know if you've gotten to him yet, but I was extremely impressed. I think he's probably a 3rd-round grade initially of what I'm looking at. Could climb in the 2nd, depending on how many big men end up coming out. Really enjoyed him in the secondary. Cannot say enough about Keontae Scott, inside cornerback number 0 for Miami. He's the one who jumped that route on Sayin and took it back to the house. He's been steady all season long. Not only are you getting him in coverage, because like I said, he is the slot. He's extremely versatile. A safety all the way up to pressure maybe. I think he's got 18 pressures on the year. You can do anything with him. A run support, incredible slot corner. I think that's kind of bad news for Caden Lee. I know you'll have a look on him as well. He's the best they got. And on the outside, I also saw last game. OJ Frederick, who was a rotational corner, he's their CB2-3. He came up late in the game, limping. It looked like a lower left leg injury. I don't know if it was a knee or if it was an ankle or something like that. He did look compromised. We didn't see him again. It's pretty much all Xavier Lucas, who Jeremiah Smith had a pretty good time against Xavier Lucas, frankly. He couldn't stay with him, and that's Jeremiah Smith, of course, but not having the ability to rotate, if he is replaced at all, might not see Frederick. Of course, he's out there, but I mean, I have my real concerns as far as Miami's boundary corners. No problem with that, with the line, obviously. Problems with those boundary corners, I think that informs a pretty hot day for Trinidad Chambliss on the throwing front. That being said, over there on the Ole Miss side, Kapara-Gushkin. We saw him at the end of the game. The Phantom, potentially, it depends on what you think. It didn't look like it was a PI call to me, but then the last one on Zachariah Branch where he grabbed him going to a wide open back corner touchdown, that was obviously a PI. Zachariah Branch did anything he wanted to Gushkin during that game.
He struggles in coverage.
Gushkin. Yes, turned him all around, owned him. I think that you're going to see Malachi Toney attack him. They're going to, he's at a 5.5, 6.5, depends on that receptions line. Not an official, but I think you will see him key on that interior of that defense. And Suntarine Perkins. Ole Miss, Will Eccles, 52 on the interior, Xavier Harris. I know that their run defense, 62nd in rushing success rate. Man, I love Will Eccles. I think he can play. I think he's an NFL caliber guy, much to the extent that, as we talked about with the interior of Miami. Not the best edges. Perkins is probably the best one they got. Uman Mian, I think that's how you say it. On the other side, more of an outside linebacker, not really setting the edge quite to the same extent, which means I do think we'll see a little bit of running coming from Miami. But I think that it'll be divvied up a little more because Mark Fletcher was rode hard and put away wet over the past couple games. He's listed at 19.5 on his rushing attempts, but Shamar Brown got the last 4 carries of the game. If you remember last game, got 5 total, was up there at 26 yards, missed the Texas A&M game. He got dinged up against Pitt in their final game in the regular season. But he's listed at 10.5. Actually, he was at 9.5. He's up to 11.5 in some spots. I think you see Marty Brown back in his traditional role where he was the clear RB2 all season long with Jordan Lyle out. Took over that role. I think you probably see him get 5 to 8 carries, 11.5, 10.5 rushing yards. I like that over.
I like your look on Shamar Brown. Miami, they're going to run, right? Like Ole Miss, I agree with you. I like the pieces on Ole Miss's front. They've been better getting after quarterbacks this year than against the run. That's where you have and Ole Miss has a good secondary as well. So Ole Miss's pass defense has been really good this year. You can nick them on the ground. Miami wants to play conservative offense, as you guys know. They hate when they get pulled out of a neutral game script because that means that Carson Beck has to throw downfield. Then that's when the turnovers come, and that's when the thing can go the other way. They're going to want to run. The pace is one of the lowest adjusted in the entire nation. It's funny because these two teams are exact inverses of themselves. Miami is the defensive colossus that plays conservatively on offense, goes super slow, and Ole Miss they're the breakneck team. Obviously, and up there the high wire act. And can Miami's front seven, can they sort of erase Trinidad Chambliss by themselves? One point I wanted to say with what you were talking about with Miami's boundary cornerbacks, Froton, Frederick was listed as probable on the injury report, okay. So I didn't list him in my thing just because it looks like he's going to play, but not 100%. And Frederick has struggled this year. That's the cornerback to attack, which is going to inform one of my other prop plays that I'm going to toss out. But Frederick, not 100%. You have a rotational guy as well, a valued one that looks like he might not play as well in Damari Brown. Something to watch against this Ole Miss offense that must win through the air, is going to be doing tempo, and is going to be testing Miami down the field. What did you like in this one, Bainbridge?
Yeah, just a couple points for me. First off, you mentioned, Miami potentially getting out of game scripts. I saw the show sheet, Thor, and we kind of want it to get out of game script a little bit for one of your plays, and we want Carson Beck to be going downfield with his passes. But yeah. I just kind of wanted to go back to Froton's play with Shamar Brown, and I was curious of your thoughts there, because if you look back at the previous game against Ohio State, it was Pringle was the one that came on the field first. And I don't think Shamar Brown got a carry until the fourth quarter. I wanted to bet one of those guys over. I didn't end up taking it. I kind of want to bet both of them over potentially, because we think it's going to be run against Ole Miss. But I was just curious why that was your lean versus Pringle, Eric.
The reason why is Pringle only got one carry, I want to say, against Texas A&M. And then, like I said, Shamar Brown had the last 4 carries of the game from Miami. He got 5 to Pringle's 3. And I think traditionally during the entire season when Brown was healthy, he was that number 2 guy, kind of informing that. So I just like Brown a little more. Plus, Pringle, true freshman. Are they going to trust him to get that much, work?
They did it against A&M. Yeah, they didn't against A&M. I think people were kind of remember that. People
Brown was out.
Yeah, well, he was out, but we were all kind of wondering, like, oh, are they going to give Pringle the workload, or are they going to give Fletcher? Yeah. And clearly, they leaned upon the veteran.
And I think that kind of informs that as well. Yep. Of course, but continue with the other props.
Did you have any more, Bainbridge?
Oh, I got plenty more. How do you want to do this? Do we want to go round robin?
You want to go one and another? Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Give us one more. Give us one more Christmas present.
Yeah, I'm on Daquan Wright. I know this has been talked about in a couple other podcasts or whatever, but I'm on Daquan Wright over 25 and a half receiving yards. He's already hit this mark 9 times in 14 games this season. He's 4th on the team in routes run, 1st among starters in yards per catch at 15.9, 10.7 yards per reception after the catch, which is crucial because Miami is not a good tackling team. They're 119th in tackling, 93rd in broken tackles allowed, and Wright actually leads the country among tight ends in yak. So I do like him to go over 25 and a half receiving yards. If you look back over the course of the year, they more so struggled in Miami, struggled to defend tight ends earlier in this season than later. But you look, Eli Raridan had 97 yards. Randy Pittman had 7 receptions for 39 yards and a touchdown. South Florida's Wyatt Sullivan, I don't even know who that is. He had 55 yards. Sam Roush, Matthew Hibner, all these guys were targeted heavily in their matchups with Miami. So I do like Daquan Wright to go over there. You look at Trinidad Chambliss's on PFF, if you look kind of where he's flourishes in terms of targeting an area of the field, it is absolutely over the middle of the field. He's got a 122 quarterback rating in between the hashes. So I think that's where Wright's going to play in this game. So I like him to go over 25 and a half receiving yards.
Yeah, and Miami, a defensive weakness there is their linebackers. Speaking to the thing of covering linebacker, or speaking of the thing of covering tight end. So I definitely think Wright and play there. And you mentioned the thing of attacking over the middle of the field. A couple of plays, prop plays for me in as far as the Ole Miss passing game goes. I'm going to go over on Trinidad Chambliss. The passing yards was at 270. I don't have it in front of me. And
269, high 260s. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll take that. I also like, and I might have forgotten to put this one on the sheet, but I like Chambliss's over 42 and a half longest completion. He has gone over that, Trinidad Chambliss, in 8 of 12 games. And one of the other 4, it was 42 was his longest. So 9 of 12, 42 or over, and this line at 42 and a half. You can get Miami down the field. You can. And you also, you have the other sort of bullets in the chamber, as it were, for this, with the struggles that Bainbridge is talking about with Miami's team tackling in space, which can lead to the yak opportunities that could also lead to explosive plays. But Miami is susceptible to that. If their pass rush can get there and sort of take the tent pole out of the middle of the circus tent, that's when they can get you. But Trinidad Chambliss being able to dance around and evade there are ones that I like. And then Froton was sort of teasing this, but I'm going under Caden Lee. He's at 2.5 receptions and 29.5 receiving yards. I would go under either of those for a couple different reasons. Froton was waxing poetic about Keontae Scott. That's a big one. That's Miami's best defensive back and one of the best nickel corners in the entire nation is the guy that's going to get sicked on Caden Lee. But the other thing, even though I do think Ole Miss is going to have passing success in this game, is you think about that Miami defensive front and the changes that teams need to do offensively against them. One of the ubiquitous things that you will see is more 12 personnel. Ole Miss is a team that likes to have 3 receivers out there, 4 receivers sometimes. They're going to have to bring in a second tight end some. And fortunately for them, they have the opportunity to do it because they just got Luke Haz back from an injury. I think you're going to see 2 tight ends out there, so one of them can chip at times, which is going to yank Caden Lee off the field. For those reasons and him going up against Keontae Scott, I'm going to go under that one. The receiver that I like for Ole Miss in this game is Stribling, who is the guy that I expect to be lined up against either presumably the compromise Frederic there. And Miami, again, boundary not only is Frederic not good and not 100% in this game, but their depth at boundary cornerback is compromised in this game.
Yeah, I completely agree. And to your point about the defensive line there, I watched that Ohio State game snap for snap, and Austin Severveld is probably like a round 2 caliber tackle for Ohio State. Ruben Bain tortured him for 3 quarters. Let me tell you, they were chipping, they were double teaming Bain. He was helpless against him until he actually went out. And then once he went out, it was game over. It was pretty incredible to watch, frankly. Like, Bain is so good. And Mesidor is great as well. I got a few. We're going to go over to, and it informs upon your Caden Lee play. I like his under 2.5 receptions, which kind of piggybacks on the 29.5 under. And with his co-slot man, Winston Watkins. For those of you who are fans of Coming to America, you know, the classic Eddie Murphy film, Winston Watkins. Yeah, that's right. Sexual chocolate is what I like to call him. He is literally splitting the reps with Caden Lee in the slot. Like, the past few games, if you look at it, Lee got 20 reps last game, but Watkins got 18, and it was like a 17-16 split the previous game. So, like, they're rotating him through often. He's essentially their nominal number 4 receiver. I think he's even better than Caden Lee, who really we expected a lot more from the college fantasy football community. He was like, what were we talking about, Bainbridge? Like around 7, 8?
Well, yeah, you boosted his stock.
Oh, you're gonna give it to me on that? Well, good. Well, he betrayed me. I can't unsee what I've seen with him. Just has simply been replaced in that pecking order. You have Caden Lee at 29.5, whereas Watkins is at 7.5 receiving yards, and they're running essentially the same amount of routes out of that slot. I mean, give me Watkins over 7.5. I can't help but take a taste of it. We talked about this, Michael, yesterday when we were going through our caps. Josiah Trader was listed at 7.5 in some spots. I'm looking at 5.5. I think he's been down to after I hit it. Dude, he ran 2 routes each of the last 2 playoff games. He happened to make 1 catch last game. He didn't have any the previous one. Look, maybe he gets one, but he's got to get, 6 yards on it where he's barely on the field. Give me that under on Josiah Trader, 5.5 receiving yards. I simply can't help myself. And then lastly, I wet my beak. Not a big one. This is pretty much a half unit type play, not a full. But, dude, Mark Fletcher he opened at like 49.5 last week. He got up to 56.5 at game time. 100.5 rushing yards he's at Fanatics at.
Oh, God.
Well, maybe he does it right now.
Wow.
Right now, he is steamed up. He was in the 80s. He is steamed all the way up to 100 yards. Wow. Look, I know that they're going to be running the ball, and they have to. But if I'm Pete Golding, who is, Pete Golding is a hell of a defensive coordinator. He was there at Alabama, where he got his DUI. Obviously got named the head coach here at Ole Miss, and passed the baton to him from Lane to him. He is a extremely talented defensive coordinator. I got to think with that interior, with as we talked about, Will Eccles is awesome. Xavier Harris has his moments too, and you got Suntarine Perkins. I got to think they're loading up the box and they're going to tell them, all right, Carson Beck, test us. Test us on those boundaries like you're talking about here. Test us. Show me what you can do, which informs, obviously, your interception play, Thor. But, I mean, to get to 100.5 rushing yards against this SEC defense, I got to see him do it. I got to see him do it. Give me an under on 100.5. It's just steamed up too much.
The only type of running backs that you're going to take an over on if they're in the triple digits are like a Kejuan Lacey in a prohibitive matchup, right? Yeah. If you're getting a Mark Fletcher, granted he's been good, but you hit those triple digits, you're just going to go under on principle.
Yeah, I can't believe it got that high. It was in the 80s when I was looking. I mean, like high 80s, but earlier today when I was looking at it, that is insane. Well, I guess this is the portion of the show where I stump for the Carson Beck over half of an interception. Now, the last two times Carson has gotten me, this time we're doubling up to get our money back. Carson Beck, 6 of his 10 interceptions have come in Miami's 2 losses. There was 4 in the other 12. And it's very clear when this happens. It is when Miami gets pulled out of their game script. Beck has only attempted 51 passes that were 20-plus air yards down the field in 14 games so far. 6 of his interceptions came on those throws. When Carson Beck can do his putt thing of getting the ball out of his hands right after the snap to someone who's either behind the line of scrimmage or within 5 yards of it, that's what they want to do on offense. In this game, they just want to give the ball to Fletcher. Then their backup running backs will come in plotting, slowest paced team in the nation. They're going to hope that they can do the 3rd and shorts or just convert on the 2nd down to keep Carson Beck in the short passing thing. If Ole Miss can pull Miami out of their game script, this thing could get ugly for Miami. That's where the thing goes the other way. Miami has to keep the game script how they want it. I think Ole Miss can win this game multiple ways, where Miami, you got one path. And so that's going to inform my side on this one. I'm showing value as well on Ole Miss, but I'm going to take those 3.5 points. Ole Miss has the huge advantage in special teams, which is a kind of a hidden advantage here, but the number 1 SP plus special teams for Ole Miss, number 25 for Miami. They also have an enormous advantage in penalties. And then the offense-defense thing, to me, again, it's just sort of the inverse thing of each other, where one of them's dominant on offense, one of them's dominant on defense. But the way that you can kind of play down Miami's front 7, the only way is to keep them out on the field and keep them running. If you do the tempo thing again, we've seen it. It works. You can wear those 2 guys down in Bain and Messidor. And once you do, Miami goes from a dominant colossus of a defense to a totally beatable defense. That's the superpower that they have, is those 2 guys. If you can wear them down, you give them real problems. I think that's what's going to end up happening here. Ole Miss has a good offensive line. They were number 9 in pressures allowed. Ole Miss has the quarterback that can dance and evade the pass rush there. And I mentioned that Miami has the mediocre linebackers and boundary cornerbacks. The guy you want to steer clear of is Scott, speaking to the Caden Lee thing. Miami blitzes a lot as well. They're number 21 in blitz rate. So, they're going to need Trinidad Chambliss to dance around here, but I think he will. My other play with this, I supported Chambliss on 2 of them. I am going to do a quasi hedge and go under on his rushing at, I think earlier in the week it was 24.5. Then for a little bit it crashed down into the teens. Then it got up to 23.5. I think that's where it is now. I am going to go under that. Miami and Bainbridge was making this point last time, but you go through the numbers. CJ Carr had 16 rushing yards against them. Byron Brown. There you go. Byron Brown, who averages 84 rushing yards per game, had 2 against Miami. You just go all the way down. Every single guy they're holding to less than their season averages. That's the one mini hedge that I'm going to do with Chambliss. But I like the passing there. I think that's how they're going to get Miami here, is start to take advantage of those boundary cornerbacks and then also exploit those Miami linebackers in space. And the point has already been made that Miami really struggles tackling. The last one I'll make as far as my support of Ole Miss, you do the thing of like, oh, they have the new coaching staff, Golding is new and stuff like that. Situationally, Golding was doing better than Kirby Smart in the last game. Whereas on the other side, Mario Cristobal, it's been a long time bugaboo with him. The in-game adjustments, the clock management type stuff. That stuff also could come back to bite Miami here. So for all those different reasons, I'm going to support Ole Miss. Bainbridge, do you have any other plays in this one?
Yeah, I'll make these pretty quick. So I'm going anytime touchdown with Trinidad Chambliss. I just think this number is too high. If you look at the close Ole Miss games, they literally only give it to two people in the red zone. Obviously, Kewan Lacey and then Chambliss as well. It was 71 red zone carries for Kewan Lacey this season, 42 for Chambliss, and then it drops down to 11 for Logan Diggs, who I probably, unless there's that shoulder injury kind of pops up, I don't expect Logan Diggs to get too many carries today. So once they get in a red zone, it's literally either Lacey or Chambliss. So I do like his anytime touchdown. I think you're getting pretty good value at plus 220. I'm going over Mark Fletcher, 1.5 receptions. If you look back, over the last 6 games. Twice he was shut out, but that was a blowout. And then the game where Miami threw 10 passes for 100 yards against A&M. So I'm kind of discounting those. But if you look back at the other 4 games, he's getting 4 targets, 3 targets, 3 targets. I think he had 3 receptions in 4 of those games. So I do like his utilization. Plus you're getting plus odds there. So I'm going over 1.5 receptions for Mark Fletcher. And then for Malachi Toney, you guys talked about it. I think their nickel corner for Ole Miss is the weak link in the secondary.
Gushikin.
Yeah.
Gushikin.
There you go. So I think I'm going to go over. You can get the best odds over at the Score Bet, formerly of ESPN Bet. That's still at 58.5 receiving yards. But if you look back over the this course of the season, slot receivers, and this makes sense with their nickel corner, slot receivers have cooked this secondary. Zachariah Branch combined for 16 receptions in the 2 games against Ole Miss. Isaiah Satania for Oklahoma had 100 plus receiving yards. Even if you go back to the back in September, early October, Tony Freeman from Washington State had 9 receptions for 93 yards, and he started in the slot there. So slot receivers have found the most success against this Ole Miss defense. So I like Malachi Toney to go over 58.5 receiving yards.
And some context on that one. So Gushikin in coverage. Gushikin came over from Washington State. Since the start of last season, Gushikin has allowed 893 yards in coverage. Last week, that game that you guys are referring to, 5 targets went Gushikin's way. He allowed all 5 into receptions for 90 yards and a touchdown. Not the best there. And so I agree with Tony's going to have a big game here. I do agree. In terms of all the touches, they're going to get him involved as a runner as well. And that's where I think the targets are going. Miami's going to want to avoid the boundary cornerbacks of Ole Miss. They're going to want to attack Gushikin. The last point I'll make about this, Ole Miss doesn't ever blitz. They're different than Miami in that regard. They drop people back into coverage. I think that's a really good fit against this Miami passing offense because Carson Beck, again, when they're having success, it's throwing it right away. That works them around other teams' pass rushes anyway. It's better to sort of siphon off their yak opportunities. That's what Ole Miss's passing defense is designed to do. That's why Miami has to give the ball to Fletcher a million times in this game. And then when he tires out like he did in the last one, for them to bring on the other guys. That's just what it's going to be.
We did real quick. For a brief second today, we did get Malachi Toney passing yards at minus 245 at 0.5 yards, but it was obviously just yanked super quick.
Well, they do run that Malacat. They didn't do it as much last game, but we saw him score. What he had 3 carries and 9 rushing yards on the previous one. I was actually just looking at the Better Vision app right here, and they have everything that you could possibly need when it comes to all the lines. If you're looking here, thank you for that, Phil. You're looking at Malachi Toney, 73.5 total yards with the rushing and receiving. Right now, I think as you mentioned, definitely a good idea when it comes to looking at his overs. I actually took a position on his alt. I think 80, 90, 80 is at about 2-1, 90 you're looking at almost 3-1 at that point. I think he could go legitimately ham. And to inform a little bit about what Thor was talking about, since we only have 2 games, we can pontificate all we want, it seems. I watched all that last game that Ole Miss had against against Georgia. Against Georgia, keep in mind, Stockton ran a lot in that game. Like he would, a lot of those scrambles, design carries, they were rushing 3 a lot of the time and then dropping a spy to handle Stockton. A lot of times it was Centurine Perkins. I see them rushing 4 now against Carson Beck, which, dude, if you're going to rush 4, they have 4 credible guys on that line who can rush. They're going to be altering Carson Beck. They're going to be in his face at times, which leads to that interception prop, of course, in a way that I don't think they were able to with Stockton because they had to respect his legs a lot more than you're going to do with Carson Beck and his, 3.5, 5.5 rushing yards, whatever his line is. So I think schematically, you're going to see a different approach from Golding and the guys on the line, at least, dealing with Carson Beck, putting pressure on Carson Beck and forcing him into compromising situations in a way that they didn't see Stockton. Also on the Malachi Toney play, dude, he twice, not only every time Gushikin was on coverage with Zachariah Branch, it was a completion, but there was 2 times where they had off coverage and they dropped in the zone that Branch was right there wide open in the middle of the field that Stockton missed him. So I don't think that on those where Carson Beck, when he can see in front of him, I think he'll be able to hit those and be able to hit Malachi Toney. That being said, if he's going to go and test Antonio Kite, I love Antonio Kite.
Yes.
He's the QB1
Stud.
for Ole Miss.
Stud.
Good luck testing Antonio Kite on the outside. That's bad news. I think he gets one if they're going to go over there and try to stretch the field on the boundary against him, especially with the kind of rush I think they can put on.
100%, and thank you for setting up Kite, because that allows me to clean up my last prop, which is the CJ Daniels under 47.5, which I did almost exclusively because of Antonio Kite, the shutdown guy out of you have to avoid him. And Carson Beck does not have a great arm. I'm sorry, they're not going to be going after Ole Miss.
You're not sorry, Thor. Don't say you're sorry.
He's not going to be testing Ole Miss's best boundary cornerback there. There's better ways for Miami to try to go about this thing. Moving to our second semifinal game tomorrow night, Friday evening, January 9th, 7:30 Eastern kick on ESPN, the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. This is our real, the other game's the surprising matchup. This is our sort of battle of the Titans here with number 1 Indiana against the 5 seed Oregon. We have a spread on this game of Indiana minus 3.5, total of 48.5. My line on this game, closer than the last one. I have Indiana minus 2.6, but pretty close to the margins. Indiana is the number 1 SP plus team, and Oregon is the number 3 SP plus team. And of course, these teams played once before. That was week 7 in Eugene. Indiana beat Oregon 30-20 in that game. And it was actually worse than it even appeared on the scoreboard, if you can believe it. The Ducks had a 1.2% post-game win expectancy in that game. I think the adjusted post-game adjusted scoring margin that Bill Connolly does, it was like 16 or 17 as well. Indiana's defense gave Oregon's offense all kinds of trouble in that one. Dante Moore was intercepted twice. The Hoosiers had 8 tackles for loss. Big subplot of this game, of course, is depending on how well Dante Moore plays and if Oregon wins, could he then enter the draft, right? That's a big question right now. Joining Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback on the other side in this game, at the top of the draft board in April. We'll have to see, but that's obviously a big one here. Oregon's coming off the shutout at Texas Tech last week, beat them 23-0. Turned Texas Tech over 4 times in that game, held them to 215 yards on 62 plays. Just utterly feeble was Texas Tech's offense. And then Indiana did the same thing to Alabama, beat them 38-3. Mendoza was almost perfect in that one, 14-16 for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. Injury news in this one for Indiana, it's the same thing we talked about last week with the edge rushers, that Stephen Daly, the guy who replaced Kellen Wyatt when Kellen Wyatt had the season-ending injury in October. Then Stephen Daly was awesome for Indiana. That now he's out for the season. Daly's the guy that had 19 tackles for loss and was second in the FBS in that. So Indiana's light on edge depth, just like they were in the last game. Didn't appear to affect them last game, but we'll see in this one. And then for Oregon, the big one, it's with regards to their running back room. Jordan Davison is out with an injury here. He broke his clavicle in the last game. And then Jaden Lamar entered the portal. The Oregon had a couple of portal entries. Now, they can technically play for you after they go in the portal, but the injury report for Oregon listed Jaden Lamar as out. So that means that they're going to be down to it's the Noah Whittington show, I think, here, and then Hill Jr. as well. And I'll kick it to you guys for your thoughts on that. In fact, I'll do it right now. Mr. Froton, with all that, the table being set that way, and with Oregon, their running back room down, and then with us having the context of the previous game here, how do you see this one, and what did you end up liking in the prop market?
Sure. Well, I watched that entire game in depth, and as well as the first two games for Oregon, and came away with a couple of things. One, when it comes to Indiana, I think they're really going to miss Stephen Daly and Kellen Wyatt. I mean, they had three awesome pass rushers, and two of them are gone. I like Kamara, but frankly, I think from what I watched, I feel like Kamara was the number 3 edge there. I liked what I saw on tape out of Daly and Wyatt more. Kamara is all right, don't get me wrong, but what I really liked and where Indiana comes in is they disguise their blitz packages so well. Like, they're so well coached. I mean, that's not exactly a particularly hot take, but you see them, they'll drop Kamara into coverage, they'll spy, and then they'll rush Isaiah Jones, where, what's interesting to me, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to take a look at the linebackers there from an NFL draft standpoint for Indiana, but Aiden Fisher, number 4, is considered like he's maybe a 3rd, 4th round current grade right now. I liked Isaiah Jones way more, number 46. Dude, Isaiah Jones does everything. You want to rush him, he's an incredible rusher. You want to put him on the gut, you want to put him on the edge, he's great in those. He had a key interception in the first game where he dropped in the hook zone and Dante Moore was looking left, and he just turned right and fired. Isaiah Jones stepped up and made a very nice hands catch for a game-turning interception. Like, he does everything. I love Isaiah Jones. As well, 22, Jamari Sharp wore out Malik Benson in that first game. He was all over him. Like, that boundary corner, I love Sharp. I think he's, frankly, in terms of what he can do on the outside, I think he's being underrated, and I mean, he's incredible. You can get him on the inside a little bit, and the last game, keep in mind, 8 receptions went to the running backs there. We don't have Jordan Davison anymore. Jordan Limar, as you mentioned, is in the portal. We don't have him. It's going to be pretty much a 2-back situation with De'Aaron Hill, true freshman, coming out, taking a major role behind Whittington. And then we might even see Jay Harris, who, man, Jay Harris just been an afterthought all season. Just garbage time. Throwing him into an RB3 role, I think
he's in the portal too.
Is he in the portal too?
I think he's going to play, but he's in the portal. Jaden Lamar is in the portal. Then there was a rumor that he was going to play, and now he's not with the team, so he's going to remain in the portal. Yeah,
that's what my understanding was, that Jay Harris would be around. He even got a couple carries, I wanted to say, in the James Madison game, whatever have you. They were also, it's the way they attacked Indiana was the running backs out of the backfield and the tight ends. It was 2 of them, Jamari Johnson and Sadiq. Sadiq had a big drop, as did Jamari Johnson in that game. It really compromised them. But I liked what I saw from Dak Moore. He's been playing more and more. He was a key focal point in that game in the first one. And then over on the other side with Oregon, when Indiana was on offense, dude, it was the Elijah Surratt show over there. 13 targets, caught 8 of them. It depends, 13, 12, whatever you look. And the reason why they lined him up exclusively on the left side, because Brandon Finney, their all-world
stud
cornerback for Oregon, Brandon Finney is legit. But he didn't travel that game. He played exclusively on the right side of the formation, which was dealing with Omar Cooper pretty much and Charlie Becker. They didn't put, I think they had one route or one target that I saw Surratt have on Finney. They went after Obadegwu and Theron Johnson to the point where they pulled Theron Johnson out of the game. He was getting abused by Elijah Surratt. They literally couldn't have him out there anymore. They'll be rotating those 2 through. Neither of them could touch him. I think you see a replay of that philosophy. Believe it or not, earlier in the week on multiple books, we got a plus 110 on Elijah Surratt's over 3.5 receptions. Frankly, best line of the week in terms of, you're giving us plus money on that?
Long gone.
Ridiculous. Long gone now. The best you're getting is minus 150. I mean, I still like it. Maybe if you want to go with 4.5, that's fine. But that 3.5 is happening. You only got 4 targets last game. You caught all 4, 40 yards and a touchdown. In fact, in every single game against Power 4 opponents where he's been healthy, because the only reason why we're getting a line like we have on Surratt right now, even in I think low 50 to 53, is because he missed time when he got hurt against Maryland. He got hurt on the first reception of the game against Maryland. We didn't see him for 3 weeks. Came back against Purdue. They didn't have to do anything against Purdue. They ran it right down their throats, kept it in check because that was the final game of the season. I think you see the full Elijah Surratt this game. He looked fine last game. I watched him against the previous opponent. No problem. Looked great against Alabama. Fine. They just didn't have to do anything. It was 38-3. They didn't have to stress at all. Against Oregon, they did have to stress more. You're going to see him be targeted often, early, 3.5, even at minus 150 at Caesars is where it's at. I still think that's a 1.5 unit play, and I'm on it.
Surratt, 8 catches for 121 yards and 1 touchdown in that first game. So, yeah, they had all kinds of issues covering Mr. Surratt, and I expect him to get pounded with targets as well. Bainbridge, what for you on the Indiana side in this one?
Yeah, I have a couple. The first one I'll start with. I do kind of like EJ Williams over 9.5 receiving yards. I know we've faded him a little bit down the stretch here. And we thought about fading him last week too, but at 9.5 receiving yards, I believe he just needs 1 catch here to hit this. And he's hit this in 11 of 13 games. I know we've seen a decreased role with the emergence of Charlie Becker, who no doubt about it, Charlie Becker is the better player, but EJ Williams was on the field for 65% of the team's offensive snaps against Alabama. He was second in routes run behind Elijah Surratt. And this wasn't just like, oh, it's a blowout and it's just he's getting run in garbage time. No, he caught a pass in the first quarter, right? So he's on the field with the starters. He just needs 1 catch to go over this. So I do kind of like his over 9.5 receiving yards. We have him projected at 19, actually. So a bit of value there.
Yeah, Indiana, I'm curious, with their rushing offense here, they put up 215 yards against Alabama. Black and Hemby combined for 188 of those yards, and their offensive line is elite. I'm not going to argue with my Iowa Hawkeyes, my alma mater, winning the Joe Moore Award, but Indiana certainly had an argument for that. Pat Coogan won the MVP of the last game. Their center came over from Oregon. Came over from Notre Dame. Can Oregon push Fernando Mendoza off of his spot? You can depreciate Fernando Mendoza's game when you force him off of his spot. If you can't force him off his spot, you're already dead. The game hadn't started yet, and you're already dead. That's the thing that I'm going to be looking for here. My prop plays in this one, I love Elijah Surratt over 49.5 receiving yards. It's their big play dude. It's their and that's where they went the last time against Oregon. You can attack Oregon at the boundary cornerbacks there. I expect them to do the same thing here. I also went sort of in conjunction with this. Omar Cooper, another Indiana receiver, under 3.5 receptions. You guys have made the point in past weeks about Charlie Becker's emergence, and that sort of coincided with Cooper being hurt for that one game. Then you look at the last 3 games that Omar Cooper has been active. He has exactly 3 catches in all 3 of those last 3 games. I think this is the Elijah Surratt show for Indiana. I think Becker has a solid game as well. So I'm going to fade Omar Cooper there. Froton, moving to the Oregon side with the props. Thoughts on how they match up with Indiana's defense, and then any plays that you had there?
Yeah, well, I actually have one more Indiana play
please. Yeah,
over there. Apologies. And to just color what Mike was saying, in the first game, EJ Williams, on one of his targets, he gave up an interception to Brandon Finney, which was a big play. Watch that play, and if you watch it from the all 22, he actually got away, Finney, with a grab on that. He was about 7 yards downfield. EJ was doing a post, sort of an arrow cross route. He goes, crosses his face, and you see Finney grab him and hold him that they didn't call, which allowed Finney to undercut the route. That would have been a 25-yard gain if he doesn't noticeably grab him on tape. I mean, it happened. Got away with it, led to an interception with Finney undercut it, but EJ Williams, he was part of that game plan. He was out there. With my other play here that we're talking about, in the first meeting, Roman Hemby actually dominated the running back snaps because Kalen Black is more of a one-cut power type running back. You're going right up the gut. Hemby is more shifty, kind of sliding in the gaps, knifing through openings. The big thing, though, that I noticed, Jerry Mixon and Bedecker, the two linebackers for Indiana, for Oregon, they couldn't stay with Hemby out of the backfield. Hemby, 2 receptions for 25 yards, and he made them look ridiculous. They had one other opportunity where he was running down the field naked that Fernando Mendoza just missed. He wasn't looking at him, but consistently, you saw Bedecker not be able to handle him out of the backfield. I think you see probably more Hemby than Black again in that game because of his running style, which informs, frankly, play of the game. Roman Hemby is listed at 1.5 receiving yards on some places. You see 2.5 on Fliff, Sleeper, Hard Rock, Underdog. You have to take a look at that on the over. He's caught a pass in every single game with the exception of Purdue. Again, he only ran 2 routes. They didn't have to do anything against Purdue. It was the last game of the season. They didn't do anything. Caught a pass against Ohio State. And then in the 38-3 blowout of Alabama, again, they just ran the ball up the gut on them. Didn't have to. Against Oregon, where they had the noticeable advantage, they took advantage of it against them. 25 yards in the first matchup. You're going to give me a 2.5 on the receiving yardage. Give me that. Roman Hemby, best bet, over 2.5 receiving yards all day long. And I think that Fernando Mendoza listed at 24.5 pass attempts. I'm taking a sprinkle on that as well. 24.5. Look, I know that they outplayed Oregon the first game, but he still threw 31 passes. Okay, and when we're talking about the matchups they have with Surratt on those soft boundary corners, those CB2s outside of Finney, keep in mind their slot corner, Kennedy, really good too. Kennedy and Finney, they will be avoiding those guys. They're going to be hitting that boundary on the left side. 24.5 pass attempts, I feel like you have to take that over.
And excuse me, Oregon, props, Froton?
Yeah, I'm going over. We're looking at what happened last game, and I mentioned it in just that initial salvo I threw out. 8 receptions by the running backs. Now, with a depleted room, Jair Hill, Noah Whittington, you're going to give us a 10.5 on Noah Whittington, who's going to be, I would think that he's going to get at least 70% of those reps. Whereas, he has to. He's had several games where he was getting 18 rushes, 19 rushes. You're going to give us 10.5 receiving yards. I think they have to go and take advantage of that. I like both of these running backs overs on their receiving yardage. Plus 10.5. Give it to me on Noah Whittington.
Yeah, I love that. Noah Whittington, how are you going to take him off the field in this game with the personnel that you have there? Yeah.
And they're probably going to be chasing in some respect, which kind of informs you have to get it any way you can, especially on the dump-offs where, good luck. Good luck.
I'm pretty sure, by the way, that Oregon only has 3 active scholarship running backs in this. I could be wrong, but what I'm seeing, Jay Harris in the portal, and then Davison, Lamar, Riggs not playing. And Mekhi Hughes has been gone from the team for a long time. I think it's just Whittington, Hill, and then Xander Quinn. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
I think Jay Harris is playing.
Is he going to play?
Yeah, I think
Right.
So. Yeah.
Wow. Crazy. Bainbridge, Oregon props for you in this one.
Yeah, so I'm also on the Roman Hemby over 1.5 receiving yards. He's up to 2.5 receiving yards on Underdog.
Doubled. Wow.
He is -1. He's -190 to get a reception. So if he gets that reception, he's going over. So that's should be an easy cash there. I got 2 Oregon plays. I know that Eric talked about the boundary corner that would probably cover Malik Benson, but I do like his over at 42.5. I believe it's 41.5 at some places, but he's been easily Oregon's best receiver over the last 5 weeks. He's gone over 50 yards in each of those games. They targeted him very early against Texas Tech. I believe he had 5 receptions in that first half, so they are targeting him early and often. Indiana primarily runs a cover 3 defense for the most part. Who is the Oregon receiver that has the highest yards per route run against cover 3 defenses? That would be Malik Benson. I believe he's the primary target in the Oregon offense right now. It's really, they're running 12 personnel, so it's 2 tight ends on the field for Oregon plus Benson, and then they're just rotating the other receivers between Gary Bryant, Dak Moore, Jeremiah McClellan. Benson's the one that's on the field the most, so I like his over 42.5 receiving yards. And then, right, we're at the end of the season. We have to have a kicker prop. Okay. And so just follow along with me with this one. I do like Atticus Sappington over 5.5 kicking points. You can get that at Underdog and Bet365. Oregon has struggled for the most part in the red zone. They're 84th in the country in red zone conversion rate. And now you're taking away the best red zone option that Oregon has in Jordan Davison with 15 rushing touchdowns, okay? So I think Oregon's going to be able to move the ball, but I don't necessarily know that they're going to convert those yards into touchdowns. So I like Sappington to go over 5.5 kicking points. He's got 9 field goals in the last 3 games alone. And he's kicking well. I think he missed 1 mid-range the last game, but 9 field goals in the last 3 games. So I like his over 5.5 kicking points.
My Oregon props in this one. I've been doing this the last, 3 games, and it cashes every single time. So I'm going to do the 2-step again. Jamari Johnson's taken over there for Kenyon Sadiq as their preferred throw-to tight end. And the books aren't pricing it like that. Every single week you get an unjustified discount on Jamari Johnson, and then you get an easy line to fade for Kenyon Sadiq. So I'm going to do it again. It was 1.5 before the receptions. It might have gone to 2.5 with Johnson. I'll take the over on either one of them. And then Sadiq, the receiving yards, I'm going to go under the 39.5. And then the other one for Oregon, I'm going to take you guys know I love my interception props. So I have to do it again here. I'm going to take the Dante Moore to throw an interception here. Dante Moore has been great this year, of course, but his play has dipped against elite defenses. Dante Moore has played 4 top 10 SP Plus defenses this year. In those 4 games, Dante Moore has a 2-to-4 TDI&T ratio. In the 4 games that Dante Moore played against defenses that were outside the SP Plus top 100, he has a 14-to-1 TDI&T rate. A lot of stats have been put up there against the bad defenses. And then I'm also a little bit concerned about his play under pressure in this matchup. Dante Moore, 94.1 PFF grade in clean pockets, 53.5 under duress. Indiana's number 7 in sacks per dropback. It's really hard to keep Indiana out of your backfield, and Dante Moore's game goes down a little bit under pressure. I think it's something that speaks to the lack of experience there with Dante Moore, and probably one of the things that's in the back of his head of, would it be better to just accept the bag from Phil Knight to next year, play 1 more year at Oregon, and then go into the draft, as opposed to my issues under pressure, and then I play for the New York Jets next year?
You don't want Aaron Glenn as your head coach, I can tell you that.
Are you no longer sad that Aaron Glenn's not in Detroit?
No, he was a fraud with Detroit. I'm glad he left.
They took the poison pill off you, Bainbridge.
Yeah.
My handicap on the side of this one, my favorite bet on it is the under 48.5. Both of these teams have top 3 overall SP Plus defenses in the country. Both play good special teams. Both play the field position game, so they're never, the opponent, the opponent's not going to be on short fields here, and each offense takes care of the ball. Notwithstanding my thing about Dante Moore, I do think he's going to have an interception. But and then each plays at a snail's pace on offense. I think that they're going to sort of feel each other out. I do have a lean towards Indiana, especially straight up. The 3.5 points was too hard for me to get to. My line, like I said, was around 2.5. So I'm going to do the under 48.5 as my official play. But I'm also going to advocate for a parlay of the Indiana money line with the under of 48.5, which I think gets you to about 2-to-1. On that. So that's in addition to my prop plays. Boys, you have any other thoughts about this one? Any other angles? Any other thing before we let the folks go?
I guess just a quick one on Malik Benson, on Mike's play. In the first meeting, he caught a deep touchdown pass that was pretty much, it was early in the game. It was a blown coverage by Amari Farrell, where they ran across, essentially, Benson was out of the slot. Dak Moore was lined up outside. They crossed Dak Moore in front of Benson to draw the coverage, took Boykin and Farrell to the right side, allowed Benson to run essentially unabated down the field. Scheme-wise, it was pretty good. So, I mean, in terms of if they're going to move Benson around a little bit off the boundary, I think that, he will certainly have an opportunity because, like you said, he does get a lot of looks out there. So, if they're going to put him there off the boundary and move him around the formation like they did in that first game, that certainly gives them more opportunity.
Anything else for you, Bainbridge?
Are we going to see an SEC team in the title game? I think they might get shut out again this year, and we'll see a Big Ten. We're guaranteed to see a Big Ten team in the final. I'm not a conference homer. I don't root for anybody else besides Michigan in the Big Ten, but I do love seeing the SEC hopefully get shut out of the final.
I love it too. Give me the Big Ten teams. Give me a Big Ten final. Absolutely. I hate the snobbery of the South, and we're on a Minnesota, feed here too. So I know everybody's
100%.
like that.
Big time for life. Appreciate everyone out there for joining us this evening for our semifinal preview. The next time you'll see us, and the last time you'll see us this season, a week from Monday, same time and same place here on this channel, our last live show of the season, Monday, January 19th, 5 p.m. That will be our national title preview, and we will get deep into that one. Excited for that. We have the 2 games coming up here. Tomorrow night, by the way, Froton mentioned locally here in Minnesota. If you are a local Minnesotan, if you're around town, Score North tomorrow night, we will be at Mystic Lake, the Hop House, from 6 to 8 o'clock. We're going to start out. We're going to be doing a show there, but then the Indiana-Oregon game starts at 6:30. It was funny. I was telling Phil, like, I'm going to be distracted, like, when that game starts. So, is that okay? And he's, it'll be funny if you're, So anyway, like, we'll see. We'll see how much attention I can pay or whatever. But come out and watch that because we're going to be watching the game afterwards. So no, you don't have to RSVP. You don't have to pay anything or whatever. Mystic Lake Hop House tomorrow night, 6 to 8. The game kicks at 6:30 tomorrow night, and the game kicks 6:30 Central. Game tonight kicks at 6:30 as well. So we will let you guys out 30 minutes to place more bets. Appreciate y'all. If you would for us, click that thumbs up, click the subscribe button on the channel. We'd really appreciate that as well. And I would love to see in the comments, as I'm sure my co-host would as well, your best bets for this game. So put those in there, and we'll take a look. But appreciate it. Let's go cash some tickets tonight, and we'll talk to you next time.